Being able to complete a screenplay is one thing, and it is a commendable feat. So many people set out to write a screenplay but never finish. But you finished, and that's awesome. But there's more to this rodeo, and completing one screenplay isn't enough. Completing several screenplays isn't enough. In fact, being able to complete many screenplays is what a lot of writers are working toward, but I hate to be the one to tell you this. You don't need to know how to complete a bunch of screenplays. You need to know how to create a marketable screenplay on a specific schedule. Because if you can't navigate that last part, you won't ever be as adept at screenwriting as you want to be. And even if you want the opportunity, you won't really get a chance to dance with the big dogs. And I'm going to quickly walk through the 5 stages of writing a screenplay that you need to become proficient. You ready? Stage 1, the idea. Well, of course, Jake, I've got to have an idea for a story before I write one. Isn't this kind of like, duh? And sadly, no, because any idea isn't enough. It has to be marketable. Now, for starters, the idea of your story needs to be communicated in 1 or 2 sentences, and the premise and stakes and a hint of the obstacles must be in it. And one way to describe this is to call it a log line, and that's fine if it helps you to call it that at this point, but candidly, most ideas for screenplays by new writers are just plain bad. They can't be boiled down, they're just bad. I'm sorry to break the news to you, but your story about a struggling writer, or a teacher who makes a difference, or the cop who solves the murder, or the psychological thriller about a mass murderer, okay, if it's just that, readers aren't excited about those. They've been there and read that. But Jake, I've got an interesting idea. Well, that's cool, and having an interesting idea is better. You still aren't there yet, because the idea has to be marketable, meaning real life people would be interested in going to the theater and seeing it. And if you can't imagine a great movie poster or a great trailer for your film, it's not gonna fly. Now, if you want to make the movie yourself, okay, it doesn't have to be marketable. But if you want people to actually come see the movie you made for yourself, well, then it's got to be marketable. And the idea stage takes training and practice and focus. You can't just show up, okay? You have to practice, focus, and train, because you have to learn a little bit about marketing. You have to learn a little bit about high concept things and what that even means. I challenge my students to come up with 50 ideas for a film, and then pare them down, combine them, and make one really great, really solid, marketable idea. And if you can do that, if you can make a marketable idea, you're on your way. If not, you gotta learn it if you want to find success. Now, the professional writer, just so you know where you're at, compared to a professional writer, the professional writer at stage 1 actually spends 0 days here. Okay, they don't come up with 50 ideas because they've already practiced, they've already trained, they've already focused. They know what makes a good, marketable idea. They're always thinking of new ideas, and because they understand what makes a screenplay marketable, they don't waste time on bad ideas. But when they have a good one, off they go. Stage 2, planning. And this is the stage that most wannabe screenwriters know about, but sadly, it's also the one that gets skipped most often. Why? Well, because this stage actually requires a lot of hard work. Coming up with the idea, that's fun. Writing it, that's fun. So a lot of newbies just want to skip the whole planning part, go from idea straight to writing. But this is actually the one part that will make or break any chance you have at a career. Most screenwriters make their living by writing on assignment. So the screenwriter has written a screenplay that got someone's attention. Okay, their calling card script, if you will. It had all the right stuff so they could show that they could write. But a producer who comes across that script, they've got the rights to a book, a whole other book, and they want to make that book into a movie. But they like the writer's style who wrote the calling card script, and they hire that writer. And one of the first things that they're going to want, an outline or a treatment. Usually a treatment, 1 to 2 pages, maybe 3 to 5, sometimes longer, it depends on the producer. But you don't know what a treatment is because you skipped this part. You've been skipping all of stage 2 every time you write a screenplay. You don't know what it is. So as soon as you turn in your non-treatment treatment, Okay, you get fired from the project and replaced with someone who understands planning and who knows how to deliver it in 1 to 2 weeks. I've even heard of treatment requests being made for like in 1 day or 2 days. But the bones of the stories for those requests are almost always there for those faster turnarounds. When the bones aren't there, it takes time and hard work. But again, if you don't know how to plan a story, you're in trouble. And even more, if you don't really know what a story actually is, you're just flat out screwed. But I wrote a screenplay, Jake, you cry out. So? If you don't know what a story is and you don't know how to plan one, you're done. So if you don't know, you got to put that on the list to learn. A professional writer at stage 2, 1 to 4 weeks, depending on how much of the story they are given and how much work they have to do to finish planning the story. Stage 3, the first draft. And here's where the problems start to compound for the writer who doesn't plan. Their first draft is unwieldy, usually, and writers often use their first draft to figure out their story because they weren't planning it. And it takes a while to get the screenplay put together because it's just in shambles. It's all over the place. So we got to put this over here and move this around and drop this whole section and rewrite this. And that's if there's a story there to begin with. I mean, this draft is rough because no planning took place. But a writer who knows how to plan is able to write a first draft in 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how fast they write and how much time they have. For me, my first drafts, because I actually plan them out fairly meticulously, they take usually 10 to 12 days, give or take. Most professional writers I know can put out a first draft of a feature in under 2 weeks. Now, they're writing about 4 to 6 hours or more a day to do that. They're full time. And TV writers can put out an hour-long episode first draft in less than a week. But those TV episodes are very meticulously planned ahead of time, and most even have all the scenes already noted in the outline. And you're thinking, well, I can't write that fast, Jake. A week? 2 weeks? I can't do that. And that's the point. If you want to be successful in the craft, and right now I'm talking about being successful in a way where you actually earn money from writing. If you want that, you have to be able to write that fast. And the way you write that fast is by not having skipped stage 2. If I were to compare a first draft of something I wrote when I was starting out and a first draft of something I wrote recently, my first draft now would be the equivalent of the 5th or 6th draft of when I was starting out. Planning solves all kinds of problems and makes this stage, the first draft stage, go much faster and smoother. So a professional writer at this stage, 1 to 3 weeks. Stage 4, revision. If you want to be a successful writer, you have to know how to revise your own stuff, how to revise other people's stuff, how to give notes, how to receive notes, how to interpret notes, all of it. I did a video about revision and how to approach it, and I'll link it at the end of this one. But for now, when you revise, you have to consider story first, storytelling second. And most writers get those mixed up. And it's one of the reasons I talk so much about the importance of you understanding the difference between story and storytelling. I talk about it on my channel, in my book, in my online class, in my coaching program, because if you don't know the difference, you will be wasting your time revising your script because you won't know what you're revising. So stage 4, revision. And for a professional writer, 2 to 4 weeks. Stage 5, polish. And most new writers get this one. It's the closest thing to any writing you've done for school or work or whatever. You want your best foot put forward. No grammar issues, no spelling issues, no missed or wrong words. You want the sucker to shine. So you polish. Now, professional writer, 1 to 4 days, maybe. But they are polishing as they go through the other stages. So this is usually pretty quick for most professionals. And if you're keeping track, this brings the total time from idea to polished draft, one you could show anybody, anywhere from 5 to 12 weeks for a professional writer. So if you can't pump out a solid draft of a marketable screenplay in around 12 to 15 weeks, or even, let's say 4 to 5 months, because you're not working full-time at it, not yet. But if you can't get to that time frame, you won't be able to cut it as a professional screenwriter, even if you get hired to write a script. Now, some of you I know are doing this for a hobby and for fun, which is great. Keep it up. Don't skip stages. Learn the craft the right way. It will be more enjoyable for you, and if you decide to later dip your toes in trying to make some money at the craft, you will be well on your way. So keep going if you're just hobbying at the screenwriting thing. But if you want to make a go of this, if you want to cash a check as a screenwriter, if you don't know how to navigate the process of writing a screenplay and get it down to this time limit, you must learn. You must focus, you must practice, you must put deadlines into your writing, and you gotta figure it out. Now, these stages are the process we work through in the Screenplay Navigator. I give you tools and tips along the way to successfully complete each stage. I give you different ways and strategies to plan so you can find the ones that work for you. I help you come up with marketable ideas, and we talk about things you need to consider when creating your idea or planning and drafting your script and revising it. And we even talk a bit about how to get your script into the hands of a producer who might be interested. And when you're part of the Navigator, you can participate in that as long as you need or want to. We have calls twice a month where we work through things together and where I give feedback on what students are working on. So you can learn to hone the process, become adept at each of these 5 stages, figuring out how to craft a solid screenplay in a few months. You can work at your own pace because you have time commitments like everyone else, but I will hold you accountable to the extent that you ask me to. So if you're interested in applying to the Navigator, because it's not for everyone, but if you think you're ready, there's a link below to book a call with me and we can talk about it. I want you to cash a check. I want you to see your name on the big screen if that's what you want. But if you don't know how to navigate the process, you're not going to get there. Having merely written a screenplay is not enough, and I'd love to help you. So book a call and let's talk about it. And as I promised, if you want to better understand how to go about revising your screenplay, watch this. If you found value, fun buttons, there are links below for the Navigator if you want to put these stages into regular and focused practice. And when you tell a story that matters. See you later.